Hey, caffeine just kicked in again. Fourth
Oh,
time
just
today.
right on time.
Yeah.
Just as the live stream starts. Bam. We've got comments already. Live stream chat.
What?
Let's go native PHP.
Um, isn't there a way I can see that? Where is this? Where's my chat?
You on the riverside?
Yeah. Oh, there it is. I see it.
It's on the side of Riverside. Let me just check that.
Hey, what's up, guys? I see.
Do you want to respond to some of those? I'm just going to do the technical checks.
Uh, yeah, Vince. What's up, Vince? Vince is the man. Vince has been helping me a ton. More than anything, pushing me to get some stuff done that I've been not neglecting, wanting to do, as you know, Simon.
Mm.
So we're working on some cool stuff, but the Sora content, dude, is so fun. I know. I've been thinking about stuff. I was watching like this chiropractor goes to like crack some old lady's neck and said throws her out the window, and he's like, "Don't forget to pay me" or something. It's like the craziest stuff. Carson was like, "I didn't even think that was AI." I didn't know.
Oh, that's
It's like,
dangerous.
well,
You get the
yeah.
police at your door. We see you recorded yourself killing an old woman.
AI told me to. So on that note, yeah, so we got so much to talk about. I've got a list here.
So
And
much.
then, oh my God, you guys. All right. So this is really for everybody else. It's like Happy Friday. Look, they're on, camera. I will correct you on that. I am not Android and Simon is not iOS. We both work on both things.
Unfortunately.
So,
We both
and
work on everything.
we both work on everything. Yeah, it's not just two
Yeah.
things, right?
Uh,
There's a lot.
yeah.
There's a lot there. So Simon did at first begin, and actually, I will say Simon can compile PHP for iOS where I cannot, and I can compile. Not that we can't, but we just haven't ever tried, like me doing it or him doing it, or whatever. So I think that's probably the only thing that really differs between us right now. But other than that, we handle everything.
Yeah.
Who has which for their daily driver phone? Great question. I am iOS daily driver and
I
Android. I've got a couple Android phones actually.
I've got this one, this one,
Yeah,
this one,
yeah.
and this one.
How many iPads?
Just one.
Me
I
too.
don't use it.
I don't use either of mine. I do actually. I actually do. So I use this one for flying. It's got the really heavy duty like gear to
Oh,
attach to
cool.
the plane and stuff. And this one also I have the pen for it. So we also do like I don't know if you've seen that Procreate app. It's like $12 or whatever. It's pretty cool
Pro. Yeah, no, I haven't.
to
I haven't seen
draw
it. I
and
know of it,
animate
but
and yeah,
cool.
it's kind of fun. Cool stuff.
Mm.
Um, man, all right. So you guys, you don't even know. I walk around with both. I do sometimes. This. So I'll tell you. And all right. So Vince is asking, which one do you walk around with? Um, is yeah, Tiny MC. I take my iPhone whenever I leave to go places. But if I'm going to do a demo or a talk or whatever, I love plugging in because the thing is, like everyone complains about, or they don't even complain. They're like, my hardware, this or that. This was $100 on Amazon. This is not a flagship device, and the speed of native PHP apps is I'll put it up against any other app. Like it's just users won't experience any difference with things. So it's like if something's wrong, maybe you have to change the way you develop some stuff. And we're happy to help and consult and teach on that stuff too. But yeah. So I know I was going someplace with this. It was in the
I
direction of something.
I really just use this phone. This is my phone.
Is that the new one or the old one?
It It feels like they're old immediately. I think I got an iPhone 16 Pro like the day before the 17 was announced or something stupid, you know? It's like, no, that's
I
no
saw
good.
someone was like, I upgraded from a 14 to a 17. I don't really see the difference. I mean,
uh,
battery
I
life.
yeah. No, I mean that you're just paying a premium to get a renewed battery. That's what
Yeah.
it is.
But you can replace
Uh,
them yourself. I don't know if people knew this. They're really easy to do. Really easy. 20, $30 and it takes you maybe 45 minutes to replace your own.
uh, yeah. My last one is one of these old dev phones now. It's a 13 mini, which I absolutely loved because I'm not a fan of the bigger phones, but yeah, it's just too old and slow, and they've made everything worse by forcing us to upgrade. And then they dropped the mini off the product range, and I was just like, oh, damn it.
You sound
So
so sad.
I am. I'm very disappointed in Apple, honestly, with some of their decisions. But then they go and release the iPhone Air. Have you seen about that? Like everybody's sending it back. Nobody wants them.
No,
Apparently, they're just like, this is an overpriced thing, just for the
it's
fanciness
true.
of being a very, very thin phone. Like you get the privilege of less battery life and less features for the same amount of money. It's
You
like,
did it, guys. Good job. Um,
dear.
that's like you remember the like before smartphones came out, like the Motorola Razor, like they were like smaller and smaller. So they were even like commercials parodying, like you'll have one
Yeah.
that's built into your thumb and your finger and you could talk like, or whatever, like the tiniest little hello, I think we're
Like
headed
Inspector
back there.
Gadget, pull
Yeah.
the little thing out of your thumb and
Stick your other hand in the air. Um, yeah. So, a couple questions in here, and we've got a list of things to talk about. It's not all fun and games here. Oh, I know what I was going to say before all of
oh,
this, but we'll talk about this. Yeah, we'll do both at the same time. You talk about that. I'll talk about my thing. Same time. Ready? 1, 2, 3, go.
blah, blah, blah. Yes, the answer to that question, Raster Shocks, is yes.
Yep. Yeah, it was a good idea. I don't remember. I think you came up with this. It was Mini, Pro, and Max,
It's just
and
like
it
I
was
don't
like,
want to think of names.
yeah, um, yeah. So, the this yeah, we're jumping into this like it's a new conversation, but we've been talking all morning about some really cool stuff, and like 10 times I'm like, we got to save this for for the live stream. So there's so many cool things that have happened this week, and it's really inspired us to think even more outside the box about the future of maybe not even just the native PHP project. And I won't say too much on that, but man, there's some cool stuff that we are tapping into, and it's really exciting. Waking up and drinking caffeine every day, um, looking at this cool stuff that we can do. So, does that mean it's falling off? I don't know this brain rot.
Means it's melting.
Oh, yes, it's very hot outside. Actually, not really, not really. Um, Yes. So, lots to talk about. Lots going on here. I think that we should start with the list. That's why we wrote the list. Let's stick with the list. Native PHP
List.
for desktop version 2.
Yeah, this is my bad because I should have spoken about this. Should have speaked. I don't know how to say that. Should have
Talk
spoken
it.
about this.
Talk it.
Should have blabbed about it last week. Because it was launched before last Friday, but in all of the excitement over some of the other things that have been going on, I completely forgot. But actually, native PHP for desktop, really important distinction. Version 2 was released last week, Wednesday or Thursday, maybe even before then, and it's great. Um, Willem and Essa did a whole load of work on getting V2 ready. There was a bunch of reasons why it needed to be a breaking change and why we've then bumped it up to V2. Yeah, and it's all good stuff like this. It's improved security, it's enhanced performance, it's using a new version of Electron. We threw in a few improvement, APIs are improved and tests are improved and that kind of thing. Um, and the big item that I'm kind of really actually happy about now in the fullness of time is that it's one repository and that it's named desktop rather than it being native PHP slash Laravel or native PHP slash Electron. And I want to just give a little bit of like 2 minutes of talking about why it was originally like that and then why we ultimately ended up moving to just one package. Um, so when we started native PHP, and some of you will remember that I was working with it, I was working with Marcel on it, and he had done like an Electron adapter, and my original proof of concept was using something called Tori. Um, and so we kind of started off with there's a bunch of shared stuff that's going to work across both of those two things, and one of them will, like that can just go into this package called Laravel because that's what's going to work with Laravel. And then maybe we'll have drivers that don't work with Laravel, they work with other things. And then we've got Electron, and then we've got Tori, and maybe we should have one of, they should be split by package so people don't end up with all this code that they don't need. And it was just like, after what's nearly 3 years, I've kind of got to this place where I'm like, I think Marcel actually said this. We probably should just make it one package. So, he's a smart guy. He knows what he's talking about, and I should have listened to him. But yeah, it was just like, this is getting too painful now, as like multiple packages that need to be coordinated and released all at the same time and blah blah blah. We actually had three at one point because, well, we still have more than one, but um, we have like the PHP binaries in a package on their own. We had the Electron plugin, which is like an npm package, which was a separate repository. We had the Electron PHP stuff coordination package and the Laravel package, and it was just like, oh my gosh, this is just too much overhead. So start that was a classic case of over engineering, basically, like splitting everything up into its own things and thinking like way too far down into the future of like, there's going to be this and there's going to be that, and it just hasn't come to fruition. And now we've got mobile and it's just this one package, and I've been looking at that and going, it's really nice that it's just one package. So that's what we did, and that's what Esther and Willem did. um, so I'm really happy about that, basically.
You look really happy about that. Let's jump to people are asking a ton. All right, number one.
Cool.
Yeah, good job, Willem and Esser. The desktop stuff, that's super nice, and we've got probably some big plans as well concerning like building apps with desktop. So if you guys, this is, I don't know, I get really excited about all of these things and now working together, because it's just like math, right? You learn how to add and count and add and subtract, and then next thing you know, you're doing pre-calc honors classes, and it's like you're building these huge things out of really big components and getting them just to wire up, and it's fun. It's really fun, and it's going much faster than I think anybody would have anticipated as well. So Ultra bundle is already out. Rasta Shocks. If you scroll down on the page, we already have Ultra for partners. That's kind of what we're labeling our partners, packaging, whatever. So yes, we already have Ultra. If you or your company wants to partner with Native PHP, if you have a dev team and you want to get them up and running, trained on how to build apps with Native PHP, or if you have some technology you want to sneak in to Native PHP and all of our distribution that we've created through the apps, you could get some proprietary technology into our apps as well. We're open to talk about that. nativephp.com/partner. Schedule a slot with Simon and I. I will say we do have a lot of people. We've had not a lot of people. We've had a few people that go ahead and create a calendar entry, and we're like, but what is this really about? Like, what are you looking for? And they're like, I just like you guys, or I just want to build apps. I just want to talk to you. So like we try to reserve our space and just keep that limited to potential partners, companies that want to do business, kind of thing. Next, and we're going in the direction of what I think we got a lot of attention just a couple of days ago with this native PHP version 2 stuff, right? So I'm sure everybody here is aware that I put this video out. It's done pretty well on all of our platforms that we monitor things. Um, and it's a sneak peek at some really cool stuff. Do you want to explain what I did? It's really what we've done, like what we've talked about for ages, and I just finally found a space and time to sneak it in.
I mean, what you did, I don't want to diminish it in any way, but what you did was use Claude. No,
That's not
that's not.
diminishing it.
Um,
Claude didn't think of the ideas
we
though.
so no, we've been talking about this for a really long time to come up with some way of rendering these native components. Um, but you took up the mantle to just go and have a crack at it. I've
Yoink.
been giving it a lot of theory and talking, and you've gone, I'm just gonna do it. And
That's how I roll. That's
that's
how
that's the right
that's
way.
me.
That is the way to get
Yep,
things done, is to
that is
just
right.
roll up your sleeves and just like
Or wear
stick your
short sleeve
hand in
shirts, then you're always
the
ready.
yeah. Exactly. Um, so yeah, that was really great. And basically the idea is we want to use PHP, right? We want to be able to use the tools that we already know and just have it render actual native elements, native components. That's slightly tricky, and the way that we're approaching it right now is kind of simplified, but still really exciting. What you've done and the way we kind of talked about it was, wouldn't it be great if you could write like a blade component, and when PHP parses that component, instead of rendering it out to the page in a web view, that it somehow instructs the native application like Swift or Kotlin to render that component configured in the way that you've defined in Blade onto the display. And it turns out that's actually relatively straightforward to do.
Yeah.
I like Claude has come up with and I'm sure you tweaked it loads, but well, tell what did it do to actually make it take like the Blade component stuff and
No, so all right, there's that part of it. So I want everyone here to think of this, okay? Everybody here probably has a smartphone. Everybody here probably has, if not Chrome, some sort of browser their on their phone, right? And you boot that up. It's an app. You boot it up and you go to a website and you're typing around and you're navigating on the web view. All right. That is a web view. That's literally what it is. The rest of the app, all of the navigation search bar on the top, any bookmarks or menu items that you have on the bottom, any kind of interspersed navigation, anything inside of that is actually, it's all native components, right? Those are all
correct.
native elements that are just surrounding this web view. And so
Yep.
I was just like not bored, but my mind just went to this place of like, can I just like hack at like, and essentially inside of Android, and I did this all on Android. There's an XML layout for every native PHP app. So I was like, well, could I just surround this with some other elements that are native? And it was
Mm.
just that easy to do that. So I got like a bottom nav, right, with icons and whatever. And then I was like, all right, how do I wire this up so when I click it, it tells the web view to navigate to a new page? That's pretty easy because they're in the same kind of context of things. So that was easy. Just go and do that. Then it was like, how do we do this from How do we drive this from Laravel? And I think that was where You came up with this actually. I was like, well, just have a new config for the bottom navigation. So on Android, bottom navigation. And you're like, no, that's not that's think about how you want to, and you're so good at this. How do you want to, no, really, how do you want to interface with this from from Laravel? You don't want to go and change your configuration and rebuild every time. You want it to
Mm,
be, it's a UI element. You want it to be a blade sort of thing. And so I think it was only a couple hours later, I had the primitive, basic idea concept of putting this together. And it's quite simple. It is quite simple. And I think that when you say something like this, like I almost feel bad that it's so easy, because it's like it almost cheapens the experience maybe a little bit when you say something was so easy to do, but it's because it's easy that I think there's more value, because it's less prone to break, less less difficult to implement into all these different places. For those that understand this, come along with me. If you don't understand, that's okay. You can fast forward if you're watching this later. I'll go a little bit technical on this. We have a class. There's other stuff that going on here than what I'm going to explain, but we have a class that has an empty array as a public property. We have some methods for adding whatever it is to the array and getting the entire contents of the array. That's pretty much all that that does. We have extended blade components classes. Blade components are required to return a view from the render function. So we just return an empty view, but in that same render function, we are telling the other class to add certain elements to that class. So we're building up this array that's really easy to parse to JSON. And so anytime we have one of these native components, these native blade components, but they're native colon whatever, um, we're just taking whatever we're defining for that component, properties or whatever it is, and we're creating another array, an object basically, and shoving it into this array. So HTML doesn't have anything to do with any of this. So we're just saying render an empty component. You don't have to worry about anything. There's nothing there to render. Then we created a middleware that looks
mm,
up, and this is for every request, on every request for version 2. Every request will have this middleware that's just saying, hey, if that's not empty, then put it through JSON, encode it, and put it through the headers and in a certain header. Now we are relaying the JSON information of all of these blade components that you've put together as JSON, and we're sending it to Android or iOS. Now that it's in the hands of Android iOS, it's just a matter of parsing that data and implementing it however we want to at runtime. So if there's a nav bar and you are bottom nav, you can say, all right, I'm using Android, so compose bottom nav, do whatever it is that is specified here. And it's just a matter of implementing all of these things on that side. And that's it. And it's really cool because hot module reloading works out of the box, because we're just changing blade. And so that changes the request, the headers that are coming through the request. So then Android adapts to that immediately, and it just works. So, I mean, there's going to be a lot of work here to do to get all of the different components built out. And right now, it still is wrapping a web view. So you have these, we're calling it a hybrid because that's exactly what it is. We have side nav, we have a fab, a floating action button, and we have the bottom nav. And they're all sort of wrapping around the web view. And that's how that's working for now. But we also have laid down the groundwork for getting rid of the web view altogether at some point and going completely native. So we could have blade components that are native buttons or native inputs or native whatever, and we're passing properties, and we're just telling Android and iOS, this is what you do when you see that object. This is how you interact with other objects. This is, and that's it. And to take from, and not to talk too much on this, but to take from the playbook of like something like Android's Jetpack Compose, everything is composable primitives. So even that bottom nav, if you look inside of the bottom nav, I didn't do this, but inside of Compose, it's made up of smaller, it boils down to a box. It's all shapes and text and image, and like that's it. Like everything is very primitive basic things. So if we make a bunch of native components that are very primitive things, you could literally build any UI that you want to, that your mind can think of. Um, because you're dealing with just basic shapes here, and you can make wrappers for them and however you want to, or you could wrap a bunch of them together just like Compose is doing, and make it much easier. And we could do a lot of that work for you too. But if you want to put a text here and that doesn't really support it, well, it's just a composable object. You can just put a text wherever you really want to, and an image wherever you really want to, and define whatever parameters you want to for that primitive. It's very exciting.
Mm.
It's very, very exciting. I'm talking in Buffalo on Tuesday. I have to rework half of my talk before Tuesday because this is really cool stuff.
It's super exciting. Like, this is the vision for this thing that I've had for so long, to because well, for me, you say some of this is like, uh this is paraphrasing. You didn't use this word, but I'm going to say it anyway. Genius level stuff to kind of figure this out. But it's actually things that people have been doing already. So there's nothing super smart about this in my opinion, at least, of my own thoughts on this, not anybody else's. Um, because what they've been doing is like, I've read about apps that are, say, they want to distribute an app through the store, but they want to distribute a change at a specific point in time, right? So let's say you've got like a deal going on for Black Friday. It's coming up. So we've got Black Friday, and in your app on people's phones, you want them to see something specific at a specific point in time for a specific amount of time, right? And you have kind of two options. One, I mean, aside of taking them out of the app and forcing them to a horrible other experience somewhere else, you get it ready really early, you build it in, and you hope that your functionality works at that time when the time comes. So you build it in, you release it early, you publish it to the stores, and then you've just kind of got this. If something's wrong, or you need to make a change, like the business changes and whatever, you've got this risk now that you've got this some code that some people won't see because they won't get the update, or they don't get the update until after the time anyway, like even if you release it plenty early, because people's apps don't get updated automatically. You can't control the schedule of when they get released, so, or get updated. So that's all really painful. And one of the solutions that quite a few businesses have come up with is, well, rather than trying to bake all of our content and things into our app at the time we do the release, why don't we build like dynamic functionality into the application that lets us define the parameters of the, like, what's going to be shown from our server, right? So they go, it's basically like a content management system somewhere on their server that says, on this day and time in our app on this particular screen, we want to show this message with this image and this thing. And they've built the components into the app already. And that's been released like months and months ago with the components. So the components have been designed, they've been built, they've been deployed, everybody's got them, and they've got the tooling on their server to be able to control what shows and when. And so all they're doing is sending like API requests to their server from people's devices, like, do I need to show something now? And it says no or yes. And then here's what's to show. And it's just taking that principle to like the next level, right? It's just
Yeah.
saying you build all of the components as these abstract things that are just always all there and ready, baked in, like a UI library, like Flux. Like, all of the components are there, but none of my content or the way that I put them together to make my UI. And and then we move the work and timing of putting the content in and the orchestration of those elements into the layout to the developer at the last second, and then we say, like, you writing it in PHP code means you can leave it till right at the very end, like literally as the person opens the app or taps a specific button, it can call into PHP because it's all on the device. It's not going out over the network. And it says, here's the JSON structure. for all of those components. Now render it. And the Swift code and the Kotlin code just goes, cool, I know how to do that. Shoot. And it's done. It's like so good.
Plus, plus, I mean, there's a lot of things that we can do here. There's a lot of things to talk about there. Number one is diffing the JSON. What is the previous JSON entire object from the last request? What is the difference? Just swap out the difference kind of thing, right? So there's efficiency optimizations and stuff like that. Server-driven UI is exactly what I was
That is exactly
thinking.
what
Yep,
it is.
it's exactly what it is. Then in the conversation we were having right when this talk started, it got really exciting. So it started with I'm putting together this little app, which is really cool. I'm not going to tease it too much, but this little app for the Talking Buffalo, and I was working with some like lazy loading and optimizations for just like the user experience, because the whole I'm loading data from an API and it's a little slow coming from the API, and I was concerned like, why is my page slow? So I just had like a page that renders just some view and like going from one to the other inside of using the native bottom nav is very fast when you go to a page that's just rendering HTML. It's the server that was slowing things down. So I started playing with lazy loading with Livewire and the placeholder and having a loading animation that does change things. And then I was like, what this is missing is like, it'd be nice if I could swipe from left to right to go from page to page. And you're like, I know exactly what you're going to say. It's having multiple web views, like a web view for each page, basically already kind of pre-rendered. And you could then technically you could. I was like, yeah, but if we go the native route first, this is a problem we don't even have to solve. We don't even have to try to worry about this stuff because we'll have no web view to even worry about. It'll all be real pages. It'll all be real navigation inside of native navigation. But here's the cool thing. I want to drop this notion to all of you. We made this native blade component, and we know to not render HTML. Instead, we're building up this object. We're passing the JSON through the headers. Why would we not then consider just overriding Livewire components, blade components, and saying, if you're in the browser, rendered Livewire as normal. If you're passing this JSON object through, if we can override it and say these Livewire components on device are going to pass the JSON representation that we need from it instead, and we're not rendering any web view, we're rendering native elements, however it needs to be defined for that. Therefore, the notion of full-on web and mobile and probably desktop could all be, I have to throw that in there because it's not impossible. It's a different beast. It's a different hurdle altogether. But you could write Livewire components. You could write your app one time and it will work theoretically, not today, not next week, but it would work theoretically inside of the browser and inside of the app, natively on the app, and the same experience you would expect from PHP from Livewire now. And I use Livewire as an example because it's really it's married the class with the HTML, and so it's really a nice bundled package of data that goes through things, and it's really easy to add decorators or pass data through decorators, all that stuff. It's already built. It's already like constructed. So all we have to do is like say override these in this context and make it JSON. And yeah, technically you're doing Livewire, but it's native mobile. And now we're React Native. What is that thing called? I don't remember. Whatever these other guys are doing something like this, but PHP is also faster. I see the argument all the time of like, I wouldn't use a spoon. Someone said this on YouTube yesterday. I wouldn't use a spoon to dig a hole. Use the right tool for the job. My response is then like, why are you then trying to use JavaScript on the server? Because that's really what you're doing with React Native, technically. So
yeah, that's
thanks.
well, that's using like a tree to dig a hole or something. I don't know. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, it's this is all just like the doors open to so many
The
possibilities.
future is
Like
looking wonderful.
I really like, like we could go down the road of our opinionated. I build the mobile UI and the code that I write can work on mobile as a native UI or on web as Livewire. But I think you could also flip it around and you say, like, we don't care how you want to implement the web thing, right? If there was like a UI library like Flux again that said, well, Caleb could say, I really like what native PHP opens up as a possibility for people using Flux. So I'm going to use, like, if we had parity between all of the components that he's building in Flux and the native elements that are possible on a phone, so that like whatever ones he's got, like the pills and things, the sliders and blah blah, that there was all some equivalent of the native for Android and iOS, and then he bakes into Flux the calls to the native UI. Like he uses our native components from inside Flux. So then we don't have to think about like, how do you want to build your web version of this thing? It's like, well, whatever that UI library wants to do, however that wants to do it. Like Livewire, Flux is going to use Livewire. Others are going to use React. Others are going to use Vue. Others are going to use Svelte, whatever. But then when you want it to work in a native PHP app, the variant of like HTML, so whatever you render out that's going to get picked up by native PHP is just our native PHP component tag, of some kind. And then it will be like we don't even have to think about how it works on the web because people will just figure that out. Anyway, that's like wild harebrained ideas about
We even went
how
down
we
the
might
road
be
of
able
like
to
building
do
your
the
own
work.
browser and all this stuff too. I
Yeah.
mean, and because technically, all right. So here's the thing: anybody out there, please, if it exists, cool, show me. Find me a website I can navigate to on any browser that already exists, Arc, Chrome, Safari, that has an adjustment on it to turn the brightness of my screen down, not the website, my whole screen. Okay. If you can wrap your head around the concept of that, you can see the value then in having, if we created our own browser and we're shipping our own definition layer for what components can do, we can actually do native on computer things with the same code. It doesn't even have to be PHP at that point, right? It doesn't have to be PHP on that. It could still be Livewire and not PHP, right? It could technically the same concept of things. It's
Mm,
your own front end templating sort of engine. It's a web view kind of hybrid thing, so you can render HTML as well and CSS and all these things. But then you have functionality within the context of whatever that device is. So you can turn up your volume, you can turn up, and I'm not talking about another layer of volume control, just like you have on like a YouTube video, you can turn that video up and down. I'm talking about turning your system volume up and down, right?
mm,
And whatever the sky's the limit as far as like what that can, it's just name a functionality that your computer can do that you would want to manipulate to any kind. Now there's security risks and there's all sorts of
yeah.
stuff, but the concept is still a valid concept though. And there's hurdles to jump with that. There's hurdles to jump just getting out of the bed in the morning. There's always going to be problems that need to be solved along the way. But the concept, the theory, and the drive now that I think has hit both of our hearts as of this morning is in the direction of like what can't we do,
Mm,
like, and then what's possible, and that's how this whole world of technology that we live in now ever started, right? So I mean, that I think it's a valid road to go down regardless.
yeah. There's just, I mean, I can't even really find the right words to express it without repeating myself. There's just so many things that we can do. Um, I like the idea that we could even end up with like a premium component library for native PHP of like
I want
styled
that anyway.
components.
Yeah.
That it's basically like replacing that rendering layer that will work with the same PHP blade whatever code,
Yep.
but then the way that it looks is just like different. And
I
that
think
leading me
Expo.
to, oh, go on.
I was just gonna say, I think Expo does some of that stuff now.
Yeah.
They kind of wrap things to make things kind of very generic, and it all renders down to native. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say like you know, there's going to be some decisions that we've got to make around um some, the layout and styling of these components that we ship like by default, right? So that without any real settings, they look and work in a kind of sensible way. So I was then thinking, well, we need, what should that be? What should that look like? Um, do we do we need to think about that, or do they come in some default style anyway? I don't know because I haven't done enough of that side of things on mobile to think
I
about it.
will I will tell you that most of that's already defined by the device. So we're
Fine.
rendering just whatever the native, like a switch, right? Like a toggle,
Yeah.
or there's different kinds of inputs, and there's different kinds of like, but they're already predefined. So you just extract that
Sure.
out to abstract that out to some definition, then
Yeah.
that users can define whatever feels best for them. And I think in this case, it would be along the lines of a live wire or just our own blade components. Essentially the same
Cool. But then the other question I was thinking
thing.
was, how have you decided like the layout, literally the positioning of those items currently, the ones that you've defined, like the side nav, the bottom nav, and the top bar?
No, it's all Android. Like
So
those
it's
are so
already
yeah.
decided.
So that's what I was saying. Like, so they have these wrapped components. So everything again, if you look inside of the code and then
Yeah.
you like just source dive deeper and deeper, everything is primitive. Everything is a box or a line or a circle. Like they're all just basic shapes, or some allow text, some allow images. But this side nav, this bottom nav, and this floating action button, those are just wrapping primitives. So they have like their own components that, again, just wrapping the primitive. So they predefine, they expose options. All we have to do is do the same thing one layer above or below, however you want to look
Yeah.
at it, and that's it.
So like the side nav thing is already a component on their side.
This one
Uh,
is, yeah,
yeah.
there's Material 3, and then there's like native Android. So Material 3 is wrapping native stuff, and
Mm,
they've kind of
okay.
gone
Right.
opinionated on a lot of things because it's material design, right? So
Yeah.
there's gonna be ongoing work for us as far as like, they're gonna come out with something else, or maybe some new Material 4 comes
Mm,
out or something. We have
yeah.
to opt in for that, and all that kind of stuff. But
Or
yep.
it's going to be some version of liquid glass, and they'll call it like translucent
Yeah.
plasticine or something because it's Google.
Yeah. Atmosphere. It's see-through.
It's so freaking cool, man. I can't wait to get all of this stuff going. It's going to be awesome. Yeah. Anything else you want to say on that
Oh
stuff?
god, I could talk for a long time on it. But no, we've
Yeah.
got other things. And what time is it? Oh my god, it's 45 minutes in.
Yeah.
Um
Well, we've allowed an hour and a half slot for these.
yeah, true.
So
That's true.
if you've got time, we can carry on. But just, yeah, there's no
I've always got
rush.
time for you, baby. And anybody else on here.
Mm-mm-mm. If there
Um
weren't other people watching.
well,
Anyway.
it wouldn't be as fun.
Uh, yeah.
So someone asked, and I saw it like about Livewire not working.
Oh, okay.
Send a support ticket in Discord, please. Live, it's Grow, because I've seen you before, Grow. We talked a bit actually. I don't know about Livewire specifically, but works fine in the browser, but on the phone it breaks. That is not normal. There's some configuration generally is the issue. Could be a caching thing. It could be a number of things. We need to see code. And if you have a repository that's open that we can pull in and take a look at, I get into that kind of thing because I like helping people.
Mm,
So it's fun. So
I don't.
please,
I
no,
do.
yeah, no, he doesn't. It's okay. He helps me help other people though, which is important.
We've got Ah, man, I haven't been watching the chat. There's loads of questions and
I
things.
know. Yeah.
Shall we do like 5-10 minutes of questions? I feel like it was maybe
Yeah,
we
let's
need
spend a
to.
couple minutes on these questions. Yeah, we should. And all right, so we'll go back a few minutes on stuff we've missed, but continue to drop some more questions in. And when we are
Yeah,
caught up,
we'll
then
catch up.
we'll do some more. So go for it.
So let's go with this one. When is the kitchen sink app on the App Store?
Oh, isn't it already?
It's on test flight.
Yeah, there you go. So there's a yeah, I'll explain real quick. I talked to Apple, so I don't know if you knew this. You can like just tell Apple to call you inside of
Just
the
do stuff.
App Store Connect. You can just do stuff, and they'll call you. Um, so I talked to them. I explained to them everything that's going on with this. Other people have told me just to lie to them and say, "This is my company's app. This is what I want." But I was honest with them, and they said because it's a demonstration app, they don't want it in the app store fully. We could go back and try to finagle our way into it, but it's like it's on test flight. It's up to 10,000 people can just go and play with it. So it's on test flight. If you go to nativephp.com, right on the homepage above the fold on the right side, there's a link there. It's publicly available. Install the test flight app, go on that link with your phone, and you'll be able to install and play with it. And that's all written in
Yep.
Livewire. So just so you know, it's all Livewire does work on the phone.
Yep. And the kitchen sink app repo is fully open source as well. There's a GitHub link there. So you can go and download that app if you've got, I mean, it does use Flux, like I think Flux Pro. So you'd need a Flux license to get it working in the same way. I mean, you'd also need a native PHP license to get it working, but you can compile it yourself on your own machine, and get it running on your real phone if you've got all of those things. And for Apple, you need the Apple developer account as well to deploy to a phone. So yeah, there's a few more hoops to jump through. Oh my
Hoops.
god, my hoops are not working.
Hoops to
Um,
jump through.
yeah, I'm clearly trying to put on an accent, but I don't know which one it is. Let's move to the next question quickly. Uh, I think this is about Android.
Yep. Yep.
So,
All
do
right.
you want to take
So
it?
yes, here we go. All right. This is a here's a doozy. And to whoever likes it, that's cool. If you don't, that's cool too. It is what it is. Um, version 32 for native PHP does not work. I went down the rabbit hole of trying to get it to work. I found that it's possible, probably, of getting earlier versions to work. Um, but not worth the effort right now because not enough people are really talking about it or asking for it, etc. Here's the principles that we as a company are standing for, though. We are building for the future. If you draw a line in the sand of how backward compatible you have to be, we're going to go with like the path of least resistance, essentially, not the path of most adoption. Because here's the thing 5 years from now, not many people are going to be using pre version 33 of the SDK anyway. So
Mm,
we're building for the future. We're moving forward, and we had to draw a line in the sand. It can move. That line can move technically, but it would take some what's that word? Some
funds.
convincing. Yeah, funds. We'll just say what it is. It
Yeah,
would take some money to do that because it's going to take a lot of time for us to do that. And
yeah,
excuse me, I will say, in addition to that, there are restraints outside of our control naturally anyway that limit you to version I think 31 plus anyway, which is anything with a modern CSS like Tailwind 4 will not render in any Android it might be 28 actually, which is like phones between 2018 and 2022. You can't go back before 2018 anyway because JavaScript doesn't even work in WebViews or like there's like real it's very like nothing that we would use today actually would work
mm,
from 2018 to 2022. Tailwind like version 3 would work, but some of the other components that we have inside of native PHP, it would take away from so many other things that we have to build and that we're
yeah.
trying to get to support that. It's just not worth the effort right now.
So the like stuff that you would take for granted that would just work in a browser wouldn't work in web views on those older devices anyway.
Yep.
That's basically what you're saying. That so yeah, it's like why should we, if it's going to be a broken experience for you, you want to use the latest tech, why should we go to the lengths of trying to make the old tech work? Because it's going to be diminishing returns all the way down. Yeah. I mean, I do get. We had quite a big, long conversation about this some time ago, and with members of the community as well, and some people got a little bit upset because I think we weren't sort of super clear about our policy on that front. Um, and I I do understand the desire to have it working for like a lot of the older versions, because a lot of the world of Android devices anyway is still using older versions. But this is just like the nature of the beast, at some point those people will not be able to upgrade to a newer version of Android, right? They won't be able to use the majority of apps that then come out. They'll need to upgrade their device. And as much as we might actually hate this, the vendors, Apple, Google, Samsung, etc., that's what they want people to do. They want people to upgrade their devices. They want those devices to become obsolete so that they can keep on getting your money. If they don't become obsolete, then you would just buy one device once and never upgrade, never pay them anymore, which they can't afford to do because they got shareholders. So yeah, SOS, but it's the way of post-apocalyptic capitalism, whatever. Um, anything else you want to say on that one?
Nope.
Cool. Is there an item on the roadmap for in-app purchase? We've been talking about in-app purchases already
I'm
for
gonna
a couple of
check, but I'm
weeks.
pretty sure it's in the actual roadmap,
It
right?
is on the roadmap.
It
So
is.
yeah,
Yeah,
we'll get on that covered. I think we've got it in our notes to give a little bit of an update on that in a minute anyway. So we'll come back to that one.
we do. Yep. We'll talk about that.
This is a nice comment. Almost replacing a Flutter app. Any day now.
I know
Yeah.
that in-app billing is a big part of that. I've seen a couple requests. We've even had emails of companies coming through requesting that. They're like, we could get everything done as long as we can get that done. So I know that is going to be higher up on the list for us, priority wise. Um, and we'll after these questions, there's one that's coming before that we've actually, thanks to Vince, and to Simon. We've got it. I think we're pretty much squared away. We can release that maybe even today, possibly.
Ooh.
It's possible.
Yeah, I think so. I think so.
So, well, I'll just cut to it. Actually, it's edge to edge. So, we have support now coming today, probably. If not today, maybe tomorrow. But edge to edge, there's going to be a little bit of a not a learning curve, but there's ways to implement it and to interface with it. So, we are going to roll out edge to edge support on Android and iOS. iOS kind of has it implemented now,
Mm,
but having a safe area is what it's known as, an area like to predefine that based on the device size and letting iOS and Android calculate those values, and we can then implement that with CSS to say, you've got a notch up here, so don't put content up here, that kind of thing. Um,
yep.
so
I,
that's yeah,
I think it's good. Like it's a good advancement. It's subtle, but it's necessary, right? Because
yeah.
the thing that this is worth talking about as well, I think, just so that everybody kind of gets it. I know this isn't very visual, and I'm going to use my hands a lot, and that's not going to make any sense because my hands can't
I'll
render
just go like this for
displays.
a while too. It'll balance out.
Did you ever see Talladega Nights with Will Ferrell?
Yes. What am I supposed to do with
What do
this?
I do with my hands? Yeah. um, I love that film so bad. Uh,
The vibrations. Yep.
um,
If you ain't first, you're
yes.
last.
So you've got the app kind of just think of the app as a blank canvas. It's not even a web view,
Got
right?
it.
Yeah, and you're going to render components in there. And we've been talking about native components, so but the only one that we render is a web view. And because screens now are like these edge to edge things, you might just have these little notches of camera holes in them and stuff. You want the web view to fill the entire space. You don't want it to be limited, at the top and bottom or anything by the different other parts of the native UI that are already there. And but then you have a problem, right? Because the default HTML thing is to just fill the space. And then you have your actual web view content spilling in underneath the camera, underneath the swipe bar or whatever you call that thing at the bottom, and this other kind of stuff. Or if you turn it into a, what's it called,
Landscape.
landscape view, uh then those things are going to be on the side. And like, how do you handle that now? Because blah blah blah. Anyway, so you'll have seen this if you use a browser on your phone, just like a normal browser, that it kind of handles it for you. It does think about it and just forces the content to go into a certain kind of safe zone so that it's always visible. Um, what we haven't had that, basically, because the web view stuff doesn't come with that by default. You have to say, this is how I want it to behave. And um, that's left it up to you as the developer to figure out how to write the right CSS to
Yeah, you
know
can
when it's there
guess
in there.
padding
Yeah,
top and bottom of 10 or something, but
but that's only going to work if you're just looking at one device. Like, you'd
yep,
have to look across all of the devices to figure out
exactly.
those different sizes and things. Whereas we can tell the web view it's actually this
Exactly.
distance.
47 pixels or whatever. Yep.
Right. And so now that's what we're doing. And then you would just have to apply a certain class in CSS, probably is how we're going to implement it. And then your to some of your content in the page. And then it's going to render in this safe area, which then actually makes apps behave, that makes the web view interface behave more like a real app, right? And you can choose which ones go into the safe area and which ones don't, which elements go into the safe area. um, and then yeah, and then you get like a much slicker experience. I think there's been some issues on iOS, for example, where it's like you get the sort of bouncing UI and some of the things don't hold their position quite correctly. And I know some of you have sort of figured that out and solved it, but yeah, we're baking it in now. So
We are shake and bake.
bake.
Zach, good job.
Great
Good job, Zach.
connection. Great
Yeah.
connection.
So we'll get off that. That's going to be coming out. We will tag that and we'll put an announcement, I guess, in Discord when that's out. And we might even do some videos
Yeah,
on that.
I think it'll be needed.
Um,
Cool.
so there's one here that
Tell me.
I wanna say, because it ties into one of our other items on our list as well. So when mobile V2, we were talking about this. We were talking about this today. And here's the thing. This is very, 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 very early days for what we've done here. Um, I literally just got the concept. I mean, it's not even, you can't even call it beta, or any other weird name um, at all. However, my initial thought was like this would probably be a February, March kind of thing. Like it'll come out later. Um, but while I was doing this on the branch that I'm working with this on, I've also recompiled or refactored my whole main activity inside of Android to entirely over to Compose because it's just a better library. And first starting out with this back in February or January, I wasn't looking. I was just trying to get things to kind of work. Now things are working. We have a base to start working towards some of these more modern ways to implement things. And I'm only talking about Android right now, but this brings about the fact that there will be some complexity if we continue building out version 1 and then we have the version 2 which has all these other components and all this stuff. we have to make sure they're compatible, and it's not just a matter of like merging it in, because it's an entirely different code now for some of these things. Therefore, it is, what day is it? October 24th in mostly in America, but probably other places in the world. We celebrate this thing called Thanksgiving at the end of November. And Simon and I have decided, as of like today, we are going to do our damnedest to get version 2 out and released and tagged, and the new version 2, to coincide with our Black Friday deal,
Oh my gosh.
which will be probably the week or so leading up into Thanksgiving. So we got about a month. I think a month or so we'll be tagging version 2
That's
for
wild.
native PHP.
You're crazy.
Yep.
I'm not doing it.
Yeah, I'll do it. Whatever.
I don't believe you. Do you know what that's
Was
from?
that a crack pipe? What was that?
No.
That was a was that, oh, that was Anchorman? Was that Anchorman?
Yeah,
Yeah. Nice.
good.
Yeah.
uh,
You see Anchorman version 2 or Anchorman version 2?
yeah.
Anchorman 2, not as good.
Anchorman V2 is coming out around the same time as
V2,
native
V2,
PHP
V3
version.
is,
Yeah.
yeah, they're one version ahead of us, I think, but
Oh yeah,
um
yeah.
60% of the time it works 100% of the time. I know every line of that movie. That is one of my favorite movies. Black Panther.
Oh, we should have watched that. Oh, you.
Yeah, dude. I
Oh
got to show that to
man.
Carson. He's old enough now. So here's the way we're looking at this. It's not going to be feature complete, just like version 1 wasn't feature complete. It's going to be a
What?
base for us to iterate over. So we are looking at bottom nav, side nav, as well as a glass case of emotion. It was a bad day to drink milk.
Yeah, milk was a bad choice.
Oh my god. Um I can go on and on about this. Anyway, um what was I even talking about? All right, so side nav, bottom nav, floating action button, and I think it's not really, well, I think a top bar possibly, and that we're trying to keep it minimum to say here's version 2, and then if we're adding components along the way, then we'll have components along the way. You just upgrade. So the way that native PHP licenses work, everybody that's already purchased um, is still within that year, so everybody's going to get version 2. It's not version based. It's annual based for the licensing, so everybody's going to get that. Um, and it will coincide with our Black Friday deal, which it also infers that we're going to have a Black Friday sale. I would assume that most people that are watching this already have native PHP license and or Bifrost, but it is going to be Bifrost based, but it will have a native PHP component as well. So that's the most I'll talk about that.
You
But we have some work to do
tease.
on it.
You filthy little tease, you. No, that's super exciting.
My eyes are up here, sir.
Yeah. Nice puppy. Um, yes.
His name is Vince.
Oh, oh. Uh, cool. Yeah, that is very exciting. Um,
Lots of work to
I'm
do.
trying to act like I don't know what it's about. I'm really bad at this. It's
Well,
actually like we've put together something really, really incredible. And yeah, I think it's gonna be good. People are gonna love us if they don't already. Please love us.
yeah, we've got, and there's more. I mean, we're talking about the next few months, like all the different things that we want to roll out and stage out. So it's really exciting time for us. We just were doing the math today. November 2nd makes 6 months since the version 1 was tagged. So
It's wild.
we're almost 6 months there, and we're coming out with version 2. It'll be a month. I mean, it'll be, a couple weeks after 6 months, but um, and we'll have version 2 out and available. And yeah, it's looking pretty bright here. The future.
Version 2.
Version 2.
Now remember, you're just number 2. So No, okay. Well, as Anchorman reference as well.
No, yeah, but
Yeah.
where? No, that's gonna drive me nuts.
It's the bit where they do the fight with Vince Vaughn.
Oh yeah, yeah.
He's
The fight scene.
numero dos. No, the
Yes.
first time that they bump
Oh,
into him with his crew.
in the streets.
Yeah.
Yes,
And
I
they're
do
like,
remember
the
that.
did
Oh
you
my
see the
god.
ratings? Yeah.
Oh, and what's his name is there? Um, doesn't he have a
So many
cameo?
people.
Ben Stiller.
Yeah, yeah, he's in the fight. He comes in as like the Spanish news or whatever it is, Spanish language.
I gotta watch that movie again.
Oh,
I
it's
gotta
too
watch
good.
that again.
Yeah.
It's been too long. Let's do it. Let's have it like everybody that's going to Buffalo. Vince, I know you're going.
Oh no, that's not fair.
We'll find someone's hotel room. We'll project it from a laptop or something, and
I'll watch it on a
I'll
live,
put I'll bring
like I'll
you,
join
dude.
in on a
Yeah,
Google Meet.
yeah, yep, exactly, dude. We'll do it. What is
To be
that?
sat here watching like super
Buffalo.
pixelated, terrible version of
We're like all done laughing the jokes over, but you can still hear Simon laughing in the corner
yeah.
because of the delay.
Ha ha ha.
Oh, that's great. Um, yeah. So, yeah, we're gonna target the Black Friday thing. I think that there's gonna be some documentation. There's gonna be some work to do. We have to update the site a bit
There's
and bring
lots
in
of
some.
work to do.
There's a lot of work to do, and I'm gonna disappear for a week. So, good luck to you, sir, as you work
Got
on
it.
that. Yep. Yep.
Uh, there's a couple, maybe a couple more questions that I think we skipped. We could go through those.
Okay.
Let me see. This one. Do I need to
That
buy the $99 Apple license and the $19 mini license?
good question. Yes and no. So number one, there's no $19 license. There's a $19 subscription for Bifrost that gives you a free mini license, just to clarify.
Correct.
Also, I have seen people, and I haven't tried it myself, but I think there's a free developer way to use Xcode to build apps, but they're not for distribution of any sort, I believe. Not even test flight. I think.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it is for test flight.
Correct. No, you can't use
Not for
test
test
flight.
flight.
No.
So, and maybe we're right on that. So, I think you can like play around with it and you can build, but you cannot distribute. That's Apple's requirement. It has nothing to do with us. Just because they're making money doesn't mean we can't also. Like we can't
Yep.
say because they charge you, we can't. That's just not
Mm-hmm.
how it works. So that's how that works.
Yeah, we. Mm, it is annoying, honestly. I find that kind of annoying because
I do.
Google don't charge that
25
much,
bucks
do
one
they?
time.
Right.
25 one time.
This is like $99 a year if you want to
Yep.
distribute apps. As soon as you stop, they're like pull all your apps from the store and
Yep.
everything.
It's bull. It's buffalo shit.
I mean, it is just like you have to be serious about building apps if you're going to release them on Apple's thing. Like you want to make that money back. You don't want to spend. I mean, it's like $8 something a month effectively to just
There's
have
other
apps
ways to
listed in the
value
store.
things. I wouldn't say that. Like if I spend $100, but I'm building apps for myself, but I have $100 a year in value of the apps that I built for myself to use, there's other ways to value that. You don't have to make
Sure.
an ROI, right?
Yeah, no, it's just like I think a lot of folks will be thinking sort of speculatively. I'm gonna try just using this stuff. I've never done mobile development before. Oh, and I want to try pushing it on my phone and see does it actually work. And then Apple have like here's the
Gatekeeped it.
gatekeeping. Yeah. And you can't do that until you pay them. It's your phone. You've already paid them like probably
Yeah.
$1,000 to have the phone. It's your computer. You've already paid them probably $2,000 or more to have the computer. You've got a wire between the two, and you can't make them work together. That sucks. But yep, that is Apple, unfortunately. There we go. Do you
There's
want to
one.
go on, tell me.
The Mixa
Ah,
Viper.
yeah, this one.
Yeah. All right.
Go
This
for
is
it.
cool. All right. The way that it is and the way that we are rolling forward with this has nothing to do with Livewire, has nothing to do with Blade, technically. Um, has nothing to do with inertia.
Mm-hmm.
So the way that it will work is you have Livewire, I'm sorry, native colon, whatever it is, floating action button as and it's written to look like because it is a blade component. You would put that in your index.html for all intents and purposes on the in the shell of your application, for the components that we're already talking about interfacing with for this hybrid sort of view. uh, so you can put that really anywhere. It probably won't work inside of an inertia, a view or React component because it's a blade component. So you just put that in your app dot whatever blade dot php, that whatever PHP or HTML file. It's not going to be an HTML file, it's a blade file. You just
Mm-hmm.
put that in there and it's going to know where to position itself, and you just now have a set of configuration properties to change the placement, to change the color, to change whatever properties are exposed for that component. Hey Willem, and hello John, and hello Vikas. um, so yes, it will work with inertia and blade and livewire. It will work with everything. So you just have to find the right place to put it for it to work, or it'll blow up things. But that's it. Buenos dias. Buenos dias, Vicas. So yes, that'll work.
Yeah, I think the key point there is it's gonna look like Blade, and then what we've used under the hood is gonna be Blade to a certain extent to just make the thing approachable. You know, because Blade components are really just like HTML.
Technically, it doesn't even have to be. If we just make our own classes, I mean, we could just make our own classes
Yeah,
for this stuff.
right.
Actually,
Exactly.
might be a
And
better way to do it. Actually,
well, this is the thing about it. I kind of feel like at some point there might be an interface to it so that you can just do it from like view JavaScript stuff, you know, which sounds a little bit backwards, but bear with me. Where you because you just want to eh, you want to trigger a specific component to show in a specific way at the moment that it gets rendered, or on a specific action in JavaScript, let's say. And so in Vue, you make a call back to PHP, you know, via inertia, or maybe you don't use inertia, who knows? But you're making a call into PHP, and it's just doing that piece of work that renders that thing out to the display. Um, and yeah, then like you don't need to touch a blade view to make that happen, right? You're just handling a request and
true.
passing the headers back in the response. So
Are you saying
it's
we can
just
make our own React components?
exactly, and then we make our own version of React Native that uses PHP under the hood, which is like stupid,
That's the
but
dumbest thing I've ever heard.
totally
Let's do
possible.
it. Let's do
Let's
it.
do it. Ah, I'm coming for you, Meta and
Yeah.
Expert.
You going down,
Yeah,
sucker?
maybe not.
Probably
Um,
not. Probably not.
probably shouldn't do that. So, yeah, cool. Shall we go back to the IAP thing for a minute?
Yep, we should. We're about
What's
we're about there
the
on time anyway. So
yeah?
let's wrap up with these couple things. Well, quick reminder, we did do a price drop last
That's a
week
good shout.
on everything. So I think it was $1,000 for our max license. It's now only $350
Mm-hmm.
for build as many apps as you want to, distribute them wherever you want to, and for $350 a year. Um, Other than early access pricing, there's never been a better price. So this is we got it. We didn't want to offend anybody that's given us the early access pricing, so we wanted to stay a nice buffer above that. But And we've seen a lot of people respond already to the new pricing. So go ahead and grab your
Yeah.
license. And if you did buy at a, go ahead,
No, no, I stopped myself. Carry on.
Nuno, you
If you
say
did
Nuno.
buy
If you
Nuno.
did buy a max license at a higher price and you're ready for the renewal, then you can renew at a cheaper price. So
Hmm.
there you go.
I was just going to add a little one of the things that we've been saying on the website since the beginning, max subscribers, and not just early access, but current, like new max subscribers, do get early access to things. Like you
Correct.
get access to the repository for native PHP mobile, not just the package that we
Ooh.
release. So that means, what does that mean, Shane?
That means right now you can actually go test out native PHP version 2 on Android.
Yeah.
So, um, yeah, it's not documented anywhere. You have to know how to use VCS for the repository type, and you target
Composer.
our in Composer,
Yeah.
and then the GitHub with SSH, whatever it is, right? You
Yeah.
know, figure out how to pull directly from the repository instead of going through any stack. And there's a timescale for V2 we're
Don't get
looking at.
distracted by that. Say
Sorry.
what you're gonna
Sorry.
say.
All right. No, John.
Sorry, John. We'll come back to you in a
No,
second.
we won't. Nope, we can't now. Rewind. And then you just change your native PHP / mobile version to dev dash Vika, Vika. It's codename my girlfriend. And she'll be happy to hear that. She already knows actually, but she'll be happy to hear it publicly. And then you have to also change the minimum stability to dev, and then do a composer update. There are no docs on this yet. We'll put some stuff out there shortly, but
Yeah.
uh, but yeah, that's you can actually take advantage of this, and like edge to edge, it's out there on an edge to edge branch right now.
Yeah.
So dev dash edge to edge, and look through. If you have a max license, you have access to the repository. Go look through all the different branches and pull whatever you want to pull in. Most of those are old, so we probably should prune them at some point and clean that up,
Yeah, we do need
especially if
to
we're
go through
telling
them.
people to go look at them. So
Yeah, but this is like one of the big benefits of the max license, and like I would just want to like labor that a bit more. We've got issues on GitHub, so max subscribers can come and report issues directly to the repo. We're going to have ways for you to submit pull requests eventually as well, that kind of thing. So it's just like the max license is the one, just to be really clear, that's the one we really want you to have. Yes, it's the most expensive. That's not the reason, but it's the best one. It's like it lets you do everything and work as closely with the project as you kind of want to work. So it's the
you
best value as well.
can you still deploy if I brought in this dev Vika branch and I'm interfacing with it with my app today, and I want to deploy that at least for Android right now with Bifrost, can I do that?
That is a very good question. But I feel like you already know the answer to that, Shane, because you tested that just the other day.
Where is it?
Can't see it. Yeah,
Yes, you
get it in the
can. So
middle.
this is actually from the Play Store,
Yeah. And that was built via Bifrost, right?
built with Bifrost. And so all you have to do is inside of the build configuration, add the you have to get an SSH key or a personal access token for GitHub,
Mm,
and just follow any docs anywhere of like how do you authenticate that, and do the composer config whatever it is for that. So you still can, even though it's
yeah.
not even released or whatever, you can still build for that. You do the
We
composer update locally, and you have to push that, so that's in your composer lock file, this dev Vika whatever branch, and then you can use that in Bifrost.
yeah. Um
This is
we should
sick,
we should
dude.
add that to the yeah, we should add that little bit of instruction to the Bifrost docs actually, because
You see
that's
this?
generally quite useful. Yeah, I know. I feel like I've seen it already.
I doubt it. Look at that.
It's
Native.
beautiful.
It is. Sorry,
Like
go ahead.
what I love about that, and I know we've talked so much about the native UI stuff, but it's so cool, is you're getting a lot of that interaction, like the little animations, the subtleties is all baked in. Like you haven't had to
Don't have to
use
think about it.
CSS to drive any of that, or JavaScript is like whatever. It's just done. That is that is one of the, I would say, the redeeming things about building native apps is that you're not having to like figure out the whole user interface yourself.
Nope, you're just moving components around to your liking and theming of them. Yeah.
Yeah. And then it's like consistent with other apps on that platform and whatever. And yeah.
Let's
I,
answer Vika's question real quick, and then excuse me, and then in-app billing,
yeah.
and then we can party.
The answer to this one is no at the moment on
No.
mobile. I don't think we've got it on desktop either, but basically any extensions like that that have sort of more complex set of dependencies that aren't required by default for Laravel, we just haven't had the time to go and work out how to compile that
Mm-mm.
in.
I have a
I,
different theory behind that.
yeah, well, I we could go down the path of like, should we? But go on, tell me what you
Well,
think.
that's part of it. So, like, not I'm not saying like I'm not going to build your app for you, and I'm not saying that it shouldn't be. I want to know what use case you have that you can't leverage or you shouldn't leverage delegating anything like Image Magic would do off to a server through an API call. So if you're resizing or generating some image, I would I would tell your server to do that because that's the better use of the processing of the device. It's more efficient use of the resources of your users
Yeah,
trusting you with their battery life and that kind of stuff. Send that off to the server to do that kind of stuff. So it's not that you can't do things, you can. You just have to think about it in a stateless world.
yeah, as like a more connected experience, really. But I do agree with that to a point. I think there's also, when we think about like AI models working on devices and stuff, that's probably one of the most expensive from a CPU battery thing that a device could do right now. And I think, as we don't talk about this actually often enough, but I think as time goes by, the trend is going to be more and more that, where people are running like agents effectively on their device and not necessarily wanting to farm that out to the network. So as a general principle, extrapolating from that, I would kind of say it is kind of nice to have these things available on the device, but I would just add that it might not be through something like Image Magic, you know? It might be there's some native API
Right.
that Apple
Yes, exactly.
exposes and Google, Android
And
exposes.
that we would support something like that faster, I
Exactly.
think, than using PHP for some of these things. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not going to be as necessarily maybe even feature rich as something like Image Magic, but it might be a bit more approachable and more cross platform, and like we wouldn't have to compile some extra dependencies to get there. So
Mhm.
sometimes
Um,
the phone has more
that's
compute
what
than
I
the
was
server.
laughing.
That's good.
But the battery life of a server is better. So,
Hmm.
um, native page transitions and back button support. We'll tap on that real quick. Probably not, because you have to remember version 2 is is set up to be a hybrid. You're still rendering a web view, and you will have native components here inside of that. So it's going to be this hybrid where they're the web view and the native components are talking to each other. Not saying no, I'm just saying like it's not each page inside of the web view is a different page entirely.
Mm.
So um like again, a good example, if you go to the Chrome browser on your phone, um, you know, does swiping transition between pages on a Chrome website, right? On a website rendered inside of a Chrome web view. Um, if it can be done, we'll definitely take a look at that. But I don't think that has anything to do with what we're talking about with native version 2.
It just there was a I was thinking about this when we were talking about earlier. There's a video that Theo, some he's I can't remember his surname. Everybody knows Theo, right? The super famous
Yeah,
YouTube
yeah, yeah,
guy who gets really annoyed at everything. Um, and he goes on this. Actually, sometimes his content is very very good. It's like educational, and he breaks things down in a nice way. And he did this one about like native apps versus web apps. I mean, like properly, not just web in a mobile app context, but like the difference in like the navigation structure of the two things, and the fact that web is dependent upon URLs and links and all of this kind of stuff, and native apps. If you just build a purely native app using the APIs that have been defined, there's no such thing as links. You press a button or you
Theo Von.
interact with a component, and then it it moves the screen. Like the view stack changes. There's no concept of like history states and all of these things. It's just a different paradigm altogether. What we're talking about is essentially like we're blending those two things in at the same time, potentially, and we're trying to not make it too complicated for you to get your head around, or us, because frankly it's this new for me in a lot of this stuff. um to think like, well, when I swipe from this edge to try, what do I mean? What does the user mean when they swipe from the left edge? Do they mean go back to the previous screen in the web view, like the previous URL? Or do they mean swipe this whole view off the stack and move to the previous one? Or pressing the back button if there's a physical back button on the device, and that kind of thing. And you see apps get this wrong all of the time as well. Gone.
This is on Android. So I just this is in Chrome, okay, and I just went to YouTube.
Yeah.
I can't swipe back at all, right? And I this is very like this is my evidence of why it won't work,
Is that the
but it's
first
true.
page that you went to, though?
I started on the Google
Okay.
homepage and then I navigated to this and I cannot swipe between anything. I can go back. If I go back once, it goes back to the original. And then if I go
Hmm.
back one more time, it closes the app. That's the same experience you have with native PHP apps now.
Yeah. And and to a certain extent, that's expected behavior
Right.
by some users in some contexts, right? And messing around with that and trying to set some alternative default i- isn't like, it's not what people expect, and they will go, "Ugh, this is weird."
So going to any page, swiping will only open the nav drawer right now. But then back will go back, and then back one more time will close the app. It's the same. It's
Yeah.
the same thing. So it's the same thing
Uh,
as a Chrome browser, right?
And that's kind of the behavior that I think you probably actually want. But my eventually, when we get to this truly blended place of we have loads of components, native components that you can use, and the web view component, and you can pick where, when, and how you show those things. You're going to have to define what those actions mean for your users, and you're going to have to define the instructions on how you help them figure out how your UI works, if it's like completely different. And those are just like problems that it's really too early for us to try and solve right now, I think.
I will say version 2 won't support that. Version 3 will support that. And
Hmm.
I know it's like, how are you even talking about version 3? It's because we know what the future would would hold for this. We will get rid of the web view altogether and give you everything to make. We'll give you enough composable components to build your app in native components, actual native components where you won't need the web view anymore.
Hmm.
And then you will have native page transitions, back button support, and all that stuff. Absolutely.
But the beauty of that will be that you will be able to use PHP for all of it. So instead of having like
Correct.
some parts of the application being done in like a native way with the whatever native code or some other library of stuff, and then these like webby parts that you rely on a web view, and you can render whatever you want in there being done through PHP, everything will be PHP. So you'll have the best of like both worlds. You could have some screens that are a web view and you render that just like however you want because that's like easy and convenient, or the tools that you use only work with HTML rendering, blah, blah, blah. And then in other screens that you'll be able to like move your application to, they'll be fully native components and they'll be fully rendered natively, but it will be triggered by PHP, your PHP code that's
Yep.
running on the device like it does right now. And that's like moving PHP to just being this coordination
It's the engine.
layer. Yeah, exactly. So, and then it's just great. It's just awesome to have that flexibility. And that's where we'll get to, and we've got to V2 in 6 months and we'll get to V3 and
Could be 6 months. It might be
it
six
could be
months. Who
another
knows?
6 months. Yeah,
Could be sooner.
it might be a bit longer. I need to have a break sometimes though, man. Yeah.
Yeah, so using Tailwind CSS and native PHP version 3. That's another, we were talking about that. React
Yeah.
Native has figured it out. So there is a way. We have to figure it out too. That's the thing. Yep.
Yeah. No, it's totally
We
possible.
agree. We agree.
Cool.
All right.
That kind of
In-app purchasing, and then my fancy premium account. Vince, I got rid of Spotify years and years ago. I paid the same $20 that I was paying to Spotify for the fancy premium account, and I get YouTube Music, which is the same thing. It's almost the same thing. Nobody in my family, everybody uses YouTube Music. Nobody really cares. And you get no ads, and you get to close YouTube videos with music playing. I'm sorry, you get to lock your device with a YouTube video
mhm.
playing and you can still hear it. So those are like the premium kind of features for that. So it's actually a life hack. Just go with YouTube Premium or whatever it is and get rid of Spotify and get everything that you already have and more.
Yeah, I agree with that. I've got YouTube Premium.
You
I
do?
do.
I didn't
Yeah,
know that.
yeah. No, well, the thing is now, if I ever go onto a YouTube account that doesn't have premium, it's just like ads all the
Oh
time.
God, I can't
I'm
stand
like,
it. No, no, no.
and I have to
I can't
switch
stand it.
to
Yep.
my account so that I can watch the thing. It's ridiculous.
Yep.
I'm like, how do people put up with this? Honestly, I'm
Yeah.
losing more time of my life as worth the $20 or whatever it is to all the ads. It's like, nope.
Yep. Agreed. Apple One. I don't even know what that is. I'll have to look into it. But if it doesn't give me no ads on YouTube, then I'm not even interested.
Apple One's the whole, like, all of the package of all of the Apple
Of all the
services,
Apple
like
stuff. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
News Plus, TV Plus,
Does
blah blah
Apple have
blah.
their own YouTube? I don't think so. Sorry. Watch YouTube every day.
So
All right.
what's happening with in-app purchase?
Nothing. We have not
Why?
moved because I'm working on this version 2 and get ready for my talk in Buffalo. We did
Yeah,
figure out like there's a difference between wallet and like in-app purchasing directly, and I think we're going to edge
yeah,
our way into it with starting with like wallet support, so you can have like a button
yeah.
that just opens up Apple Pay and you can allow people to pay for goods. Now it cannot be digital goods, and that's the difference I think with Apple Wallet, um, and support for Android and all that stuff too.
I think it comes down to the true in-app purchase. We talked about this a lot last week, but if you don't have any other service stuff and you just want, you don't have Stripe and all of that kind of stuff going, and you don't want to hook that up in special ways with your app, then you just want to use the stores to unlock digital products that you make available through the stores to your users,
Mm-hmm.
and they can then use the in-app purchase flows to purchase those, and it gets tied to their store account, not like their user account on your service or in your database or anything like that. I think this is probably actually even the easier way to think about it. It's just like, where does the responsibility for the um, connecting the purchase that they've made to the product actually lie? And with in-app purchase, it lies with Apple and with Google. When it's any other purchase that's done with wallet, whatever kind of style of purchase that is, whether it's a one-off, it could be a digital thing, It could be a subscription. If you're doing that on your end, then the responsibility lies with you. Like, you have it in your database, you've got to authenticate the user, you've got to know that they made that purchase to unlock whatever features of their account that you want them to unlock, etc., etc., etc. So then you'd have to build all of that infrastructure yourself to make that work and manage that. Whereas you could just rely on Google and Apple for some of those things. Um, but then there's the responsibilities that come along with doing that, like Apple's tax on taking payments through the app, and whether you can avoid their subscription
We're
thing
not
or not.
responsible for any of that, and we're not responsible to
Responsible.
educate people on that. So we're
No,
our responsibility is to enable them to figure it out on their own, right? To be
exactly.
able to
So,
use it. Yeah.
but we're saying like the first thing that we'll build on that front is just allowing you to tap into the user's wallet to make arbitrary purchases that you own, like you're responsible for, not the in-app purchases that govern, no, how the stores work and what they could be responsible for. We'll get to that eventually, but the one hand is like wallet, the other hand is in-app purchase, and we'll do both of them, but we're going to start with wallet.
Couple comments here.
Hit me. What are they?
They're in your eyes, dude. I'll
I'm
read
not
them.
seeing
I'll read
them.
it for you. Apple, Google is restricting wallet use for physical goods and not subscriptions.
I'm Ron Burgundy. um,
Go fuck yourself.
ooh, beep. Uh, wallet use for physical goods. I don't think that's true. No, I think you can use it for whatever you want, but it's just, yeah, it's just different way of handling it. Like, you have to, the subscriptions thing classically with Apple is, if you're out, I think it's now, if you're outside of the US and you wanted to start a subscription with somebody using like in app, you would owe Apple 30% of every month, or whatever the renewal time frame is. Every time you take a renewal from somebody, you owe Apple 30% of that. And they would chase you down for that, or whatever it is. Like, they're going
And
to
they don't
tax you
want you linking outside
on
to a
exactly.
website to start a subscription and all that
You
stuff.
can't say from your app, start a subscription, and then it pings out to your website, because that would avoid the Apple tax.
And they
But in the
will,
US,
they're like
they've
the
been
mafia, dude.
forced. Yeah, it is. In the US, they've been forced to not do that. They can't do that now. You can start subscriptions using the wallet in the
Stripe or
US
whatever.
without
Yep.
that 30% tax, as far as we understand it. So, yeah, uh, eventually maybe that will come to everybody. But and then this one, which I know there's been a comment to, yeah, misunderstood, but IOPs have to have the option for on-device purchase for Apple devices for digital goods. I was planning to monetize a device-only app using in-app purchases. Yeah, so the point is, Matthew, thank you for the question. You can still do it, but you just wouldn't set up those products and things in the app stores. You would have to have that set up on your own server. You'd have to have your database with your prices, whatever, and then you'd have the wallet would just be, like equivalent of Stripe. It's just like the transaction is happening, and then you would receive on your server the response from the transaction. So when the transaction is successful, you say this customer has purchased these items, and then when they authenticate their app with your server, then you'd have confirmation that they've purchased this thing or that thing.
And there's other ways to do that too. You could use Firebase and send a
Yeah.
message. You could do Reverb. I mean, there's and tell it to you actually it's not a bad use case for Reverb is to have the server tell the device
Hmm.
to go update some JSON from the server or something like that. So you have to
Yeah,
be creative, but it's
you
all
can
there.
get really smart. And arguably that's the more flexible approach, because the app stores are quite limited in what they allow you to do with in-app purchases. Um, but yeah, the nice thing about it is that you just don't have to think too hard because you can just set the products up on the app stores and then use their SDKs. You know, if you're building it outside of native PHP, you'd use their SDKs to interact with that, and just it would all be taken care of. Um, so yeah,
We'll get there.
but we'll get to that.
Yep. On that note, I think that's it, man.
We've gone, yeah.
You look pretty handsome today. I meant to say that earlier, but it's still true. You look an hour older than you did before, but
It really shows. I need to drink more water.
I should drink more water. I'm gonna go eat some food and then get to
Good.
work. I have a lot to do. Thank you
Yep.
guys. Thank you folks for hanging out with us. We appreciate it. We hope you have a wonderful weekend. And if I don't see you later, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
Ah, something
I
about
just
San
watched that.
Diego. I think you, yeah, Truman Show. I love
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. What about San Diego? These
What
are
does
the
he say?
outtakes. Everybody else is
Is he
left.
say at the end? He's like, not the bad one. What's his normal sign off?
Oh,
Can't
oh, oh.
remember.
Oh my God. Yeah. What is it?
It's
I'm
gone.
gonna have to look it up. Here's looking at you.
It means
Ron.
a whale's vagina. Okay. On that note, goodbye, everybody.
I want to find this though.
Oh,
Stay classy, San Diego.
that's it. Stay classy. Stay classy.
There you go. There you go.
There
Vince.
you go. Thanks, everyone.